Narian? I'm home.
Bryn was still awake at midnight, fixing a stranger's watch when the knock came. Once, twice, a third time. He told himself it was the wind. But the wind didn't knock like that. He opened the door. Narian was standing outside. The husband Bryn had buried 3 years ago. Same face, same eyes. Not a single drop of rain on him, even though the storm was pouring down around him. Bryn couldn't move. I'm home. His legs gave out. He grabbed onto Narian, expecting his hands to pass through nothing, but Narian was warm. Solid. Real. Narian. Bryn whispered, the name he hadn't said out loud since the funeral. Behind them, the storm kept crashing against the shore. For 3 years, the sea had never given anyone back. Tonight, it had. 3 years earlier, they'd married on the cliffs above Asterwin. No music, no speeches, just Narian fixing Bryn's crooked tie and telling him he was shaking. I'm happy, Bryn said. Is that allowed? It's required, Narian said, and kissed him before either of them said a single vow. That night, under a clear sky, Narian made him a promise. Even if the whole world forgets you, I won't. 3 months later, Narian took the evening ferry out to visit his mother on the mainland. Bryn stayed behind. There were watches to fix, and Narian would only be gone 2 days. The storm hit an hour after the ferry left port. Nobody survived it. They found the wreckage 2 days later. They found Narian's body 4 days after that. Bryn buried him himself. He didn't let anyone else touch the coffin. Everyone told him the same thing. At least you have your memories. He didn't want memories. He wanted his husband. So he kept Narian's side of the bed made. He cooked 2 meals every night. One for himself, one that always went cold. He never took off his ring. People stopped mentioning it after the first year. They just looked at him the way you look at someone who hasn't figured out the truth yet. Bryn knew the truth. He just refused it. The next morning, Bryn woke convinced he'd dreamed it. Then he found Narian in the kitchen, making tea exactly the way he used to. Bryn touched his face, just to be sure. Narian let him. Neither of them said anything for a long moment. I don't care how this happened, Bryn finally said. You're here. That's enough. For a while it was. They fell back into old routines. Walking through town together. Working side by side at the shop. Falling asleep beside each other. But some things weren't the same. Narian never ate. He'd sit at the table with a full plate and never touch it. And when Bryn asked, he'd just smile and say he wasn't hungry every single night. He never slept either. Bryn would wake at 3 in the morning and find him standing by the window, staring out at the ocean like it was calling him. He avoided mirrors. Bryn noticed it after the second week, the way Narian angled himself away from anything reflective in the house. Bryn told himself it didn't matter. Narian was home. That was the only thing that mattered. The town didn't see it that way. People stopped meeting Bryn's eyes when he walked past. He heard the whispers before they thought he could. That isn't possible. The drowned don't return. Nobody said it to his face, but he saw it in the way they looked at Narian, like he was something to fear instead of someone to welcome back. That's when Bryn first saw her. A woman standing at the edge of the market, watching Narian with an expression he couldn't read. He'd never seen her in Asterwin before. When he passed by again, she was gone, until she found him alone outside the shop that evening. You buried him once, she said, without introducing herself. Be careful you don't bury yourself with him. Then she walked away before he could ask her name. Bryn told himself she was just another superstitious local. He told himself the whispers didn't matter. He told himself none of it mattered, as long as Narian was home. He was wrong about all of it. Her name was Mara. Bryn learned that much before he learned anything else about her. She found him again a few days later, waiting near the shop like she already knew he'd come looking for answers eventually. Who are you? He asked. Someone who's seen this happen before, she said. Not often, but enough to know how it ends. How it ends? The sea doesn't return gifts, she said. Everything it takes gets paid for eventually. Someone came back, Bryn. That means something else was left behind. Bryn didn't understand her. Not yet. He told her to leave them alone, and she did, but her words stayed with him longer than he wanted them to. That night, he finally asked Narian the question he'd been avoiding for weeks. What happened out there? The night of the storm, what actually happened to you? Narian's face changed. Not anger. Something closer to grief. Some things are better left beneath the waves, he said quietly. That's not an answer. I know, he said. I'm sorry. I can't give you the one you want yet. Bryn let it go that night. He told himself he'd ask again when Nerian was ready. But something had already started shifting in him, a memory he hadn't let himself look at in 3 years. He remembered the fairy, the panic, Nerian's hand gripping his. Except that wasn't quite right. He closed his eyes and let himself go back further than he had in 3 years, and this time, the memory didn't stop where it always used to. Nerian's hand hadn't been holding his. It had been pushing him away, toward the surface, toward air, while the water dragged Nerian further down. Bryn remembered sinking. He remembered the cold closing over his head. He remembered going still. He had always told himself he was the one who survived that night. He was starting to understand that wasn't true at all. The storm returned the night Bryn finally confronted them both. He found Nerian standing at the shoreline, exactly where the ferry had gone down 3 years ago. Mara was already there, waiting, like she'd known he would come. Tell me the truth, Bryn said. All of it. Mara looked at Nerian. Nerian said nothing, so she said it instead. You both died that night. Bryn shook his head. No, I survived. Everyone said dash. Everyone said what they were meant to believe, Mara said. The sea took 2 lives that night. It only had room to give 1 back. Bryn turned to Nerian. Say something. Tell her she's wrong. Nerian's eyes were wet, though no rain had touched him all night. She's not wrong, he said. The words landed like a physical blow. Bryn stepped back. There was a moment, Nerian said, right before the end, when I was given a choice. 1 soul could return. Just 1. And you chose me, Bryn said quietly. I didn't choose, Nerian said. There was nothing to choose. It was already you. It was always going to be you. Then what have you been for 3 years? Waiting, Nerian said. In the space between. Not alive. Not gone. Just waiting, because I couldn't leave you alone. Not really. Not the way you needed me to. Bryn's legs nearly gave out again, the same way they had the night of the knock. This time, no one caught him. Why now, he asked. Why come back at all, if you already gave up your place? Mara answered before Nerian could. Because the balance was never paid, she said. He gave you his life, Bryn. But the sea doesn't forgive a debt just because love asked for it. Someone has to answer for what was taken. That answer comes tonight. The waves rose higher behind her, black and restless, like something was listening. The waves kept rising. Mara didn't move, didn't blink, waiting for an answer that hadn't come yet. Then take it back, Bryn said. Whatever you gave him, give it back. Let him stay? Take my life instead. No, Nerian said, sharp enough to cut through the wind. That was never the deal, and it never will be. Then what do you want from us? Bryn shouted at Mara. Tell me how to fix this. There's nothing to fix, Mara said. That's what neither of you understands yet. The imbalance wasn't a theft. It was a sacrifice. The sea doesn't know how to make room for that. It only knows how to take. So we just let it take him again, Bryn said. That's the answer. No, Mara said. The answer is that love isn't the debt. Love was never what broke anything. It's what the two of you do with what's left that decides how this ends. Nerian took Bryn's hands in his, solid, warm, real, the way he'd been every night since he came back. She's right, he said. I didn't come back to be forgiven for what I did. I came back because I couldn't let you spend your whole life waiting for a man who was never going to walk through that door again. You are that man, Bryn said. You're right here. For tonight, Nerian said gently. Mara stepped back from them both, toward the water. The sea will take what it's owed by morning, she said. What happens between now and then is yours, not mine to take. Then she was gone, not walking away, just gone, the way mist disappears when the sun finds it. They didn't go back to the shop. They went home. Nerian lit every candle in the house, the way he used to on quiet nights before the storm ever took him. They danced in the kitchen with no music but the sound of the sea outside. They cooked a meal neither of them touched, too busy talking, too busy holding on to each other to remember they were hungry. Bryn asked him everything he'd never asked in 3 years, what it had been like, waiting in that space between. Nerian answered all of it, gently, without flinching, like a man finally allowed to put down something heavy. Near dawn, they sat together on the porch, watching the storm finally begin to break. I need you to hear this, Nerian said. I didn't come back because I was afraid of dying. I came back because I was afraid you would spend your life waiting for me. Bryn didn't answer. He just held on tighter, memorizing the warmth of a hand he knew he wouldn't feel again after the sun rose. Months later, Bryn's shop was full of morning light. He still wore his ring, but the tired sadness that had lived in his eyes for 3 years was gone, replaced by something quieter, peace, maybe, or something close to it. A customer, waiting for her watch to be repaired, asked him a question people in Asterwin had learned not to ask out loud. "Do you believe people can come back?" Bryn smiled, the kind of smile that didn't need explaining. "No," he said. He paused, glancing toward the window, toward the calm blue line of the ocean in the distance. "But I believe love finds a way to say goodbye." Outside, the sea moved gently against the shore, calm, at peace, keeping its promise at last. This story has come to an end. If Bryn and Nerian's journey moved you, don't forget to subscribe. New stories like this one are on the way, and you won't want to miss what's next. The end.